Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Milligan. I'm here with Dr. Pirro from Holland, Michigan. We're going to talk about periodontal disease, inflammation, and diabetes. Pirro, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity.
Now, tell us a little bit about your research and what's some of the correlation between periodontal disease, inflammation, and diabetes.
Well, diabetes is really an inflammatory disease, and so is periodontal disease. Periodontal disease is the largest inflammatory disease on the planet. It's the most prevalent disease that there is. And 50% of all patients that are adults over 35 years old have periodontal disease.
Yes, they do.
That's what the Center for Disease Control says, Mike. And so when you get 65, that number jumps to 75%.
Age 65.
Age 65.
Right. 75%.
75%. And that is just endemic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a proof that what we're doing in our society isn't working.
Right.
And this problem is we got 24 million diabetics out there.
Right.
And a third
it's growing.
And a third of those people aren't even diagnosed yet.
Right.
And we have 3 times that many that are pre-diabetic that are waiting to become diabetics.
Absolutely, yes.
So
right.
we have to manage this somehow, some way.
We've got to improve what
we have to improve what we're doing.
And a lot of it's information out to the public.
Right. And so part of what I've done throughout my life, this is my life's work,
right.
is to change that parameter, try to make a difference.
You're going to help a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope that we can change their ideas of what's going on in there. So it's an inflammatory disease, and when you have inflammation is really an arterial disease, like periodontal disease is, and diabetes is just a periodontal disease, and or is just an inflammatory disease,
right.
And it exacerbates your liver to produce a chemical that then releases a marker that's in your body that makes, the best way to describe it is acne in your arteries. And when the pimple pops, you have these little microvascular events that are damaging all the different organs in your body.
Right.
They could be your heart, your liver, your lung, your kidneys, your pancreas, all of those
Anywhere
areas.
the blood goes, it can hurt those areas.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is happening in everybody's body almost on a daily basis.
Just to a different level.
Exactly.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is stop those microvascular events. When those microvascular events occur, you're knocking out a pencil size a tip of tissue that had a function in your body. Now your body is constantly under stress. You have to regenerate that tissue in order for those areas to function properly.
Right.
So because periodontal disease is the most infectious disease, and being a dentist, I recognize that, and I said, well, why is it that it's the most infectious disease? Why do we have such a prevalence with this problem?
Tell us why that is.
Well, the Center for Disease Control will tell us, because if everybody has periodontal disease at 35, or half of us do, and for sure the majority of us at 65, then it's telling me that the toothbrush and flossing is not working.
It's not working.
Not working. So I tried to leapfrog over toothbrushing and flossing. So I designed a piece of equipment that basically power washes your teeth, oxygenates those anaerobic species of pathogens that are below the gum line and in between the teeth, and it removes that biofilm.
All the different bacteria in your mouth, there are about 11 to 13 that are really the main pathogenic ones.
Yes.
And if we can get those oxygenated, we can kill the vast majority of those bacteria.
Yes.
And your product does that.
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
Well, the product is a oxygenating device, and so these bugs are called acidogenic, and so I use a sodium bicarbonate to increase the pH, so we change the environment, and they're very oxygen sensitive. So we oxygenate those anaerobic species, we're changing the pH, and we're literally using an abrasive component. The sodium bicarbonate is encapsulated, and so it abrades and bombards the biofilm. So as it's abrading the biofilm, it breaks it up, and we're oxygenating it.
Right.
And
That'll
so
kill those bacteria.
Yeah, that's exactly
They're very
right.
resistant in that biofilm.
Yes.
But if you can break that biofilm up
Yes.
and then oxygenate them, you can kill those bacteria.
Exactly.
Because they don't like oxygen.
Exactly. So really, it's just a drug delivery system, and the drug happens to be oxygen and a pH, a balanced material, and we put in some tricalcium phosphate to help build the tooth itself.
Right.
But really, the goal is to manage the bugs, because we're living with there's more bugs in our mouth than there are people on the planet.
It's amazing. amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And you know, when you wake up in the morning and you have this funky taste in your mouth, well, that's the excrement of the bugs that are growing in between your teeth.
Right.
And so that's got to stop.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay.
Now tell us about the study that you've done with your product, but what it shows is what the correct cleaning of your teeth and the killing of these bugs can do for a diabetic. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, oral hygiene has one of the biggest impacts on this infectious disease.
Right.
So when we can control the bugs that are growing in between your teeth, what we're doing is lowering all these blood markers that are detrimental to your health.
Right.
And so the study that we did was take about 100 patients,
Right.
and half of them were diabetics, and half of them weren't, and half of them used toothbrushes, and half of them used my product.
Right.
So when you have all these periodontal patients, they were all severe periodontal patients,
Right.
and when they did initial phase therapy, we noticed that periodontal therapy that's done by your dentist.
Right.
And it immediately drops those blood parameters. You have CRPs, they're called, and they're called plaque, PLAC2.
Right.
There's HbA1c, which is very important for diabetes,
Right.
because that's a 3-month window look at how well you're controlling your blood sugar over a 3-month period of time. And when you can lower your HbA1cs by 1%, you're doing a huge, great job, because 32% less cardiovascular events, 43% less amputations.
Right.
So that's the goal, is to keep those HbA1cs down.
Right. So we want to get those down. We're looking if we can get
Absolutely.
down to 1 point, then it's a major impact
Major.
in the health of a diabetic.
Yes, sir.
So tell us how much do we go down just through periodontal therapy?
Periodontal therapy brings it down about 0.4%, 0.4 to 0.6%, which is phenomenal, actually. So it's the reason why you would want to see your doctor if you're diabetic. If you're a diabetic and you're not seeing your dentist every 3 months, you're making a grave mistake.
Right.
Because most of my patients are on 3-month cleanings, and they aren't even diabetics.
Yeah.
Because a 3-month cleaning is, I call it buying birthdays. When you get a 3-month cleaning, you are extending your life.
length and the quality of your
You're
life.
decreasing that inflammation.
So periodontal therapy takes it down
Takes it down
about
significantly.
0.4 or so. But what happens then over the next 6 months to your next cleaning if
Well,
you don't get it done more frequently?
That's the problem.
What happens?
Well, the same reason that the same reason when they walk out and we hand them a toothbrush, they go back out there and they end up with the same problem that they had before. And that's what I was saying before, is that the toothbrush is not working.
Right.
So the toothbrush group in the study
Right.
showed that the HbA1cs started to ramp back up, the CRPs ramped back up,
Right.
and over that 6-month period of time.
Yeah.
Now, with my product, they kept going down
Right.
to 1.02%,
And that's-
which is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal discovery
It is.
without a drug.
It is. It can
Because
make a
usually people are on,
huge difference
Yes.
in these diabetics' health.
absolutely, yeah. It just changes their whole life. Some people go from being a diabetic to not needing any drugs any longer.
Right.
So if you can drop your HbA1cs like that, it's phenomenal.
It is.
Yeah.
So tell us now, what is the product that there are several ways to get the bacteria down and to help this type of thing for a diabetic.
Uh-huh.
Your product is a very simple, easy one to use. Tell us a little bit about that product.
Sure. It's a compressor. It's just like a dental office compressor, so it's kind of big. It's about the size of a toaster.
Yeah.
And it's got a couple of pistons in there that produces air, and that goes to a handpiece.
Right.
And you place a solution or a powder, and you mix this powder up, and then air, water, and abrasive component jet streams through the tooth, right between the teeth, and it peppers away at that biofilm.
Right.
It oxygenates those anaerobic species.
So it's got a little handpiece you just put right in there.
Exactly. You have a handpiece. It's all you can even use it in the shower, Mike. Yeah. So, but it's a phenomenal thing for diabetes, and diabetes is so inflammatory. There's 3 components to this inflammatory issue that I would like to talk to you about, and it's about we start this when we're kids. And we start to become more and more insulin resistant. Well, periodontal disease we start as kids too.
Right.
So one disease, one inflammatory disease exacerbates all the other ones. And that's why periodontal disease is so associated with all these other diseases like cardiovascular disease and diabetes and children with Alzheimer's.
Problems.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Liver disease, all sorts of disease.
Right.
Many cancers.
Right.
So when we can drop this put the fire out. That's what we're trying to do here, is put the fire out. But if you have a patient that is has a high body mass index, you really want to work on both facets of the problem. You really want to take and lower that flame by having them lose some weight, because having a high body mass index is very inflammatory. Being a diabetic is highly inflammatory, and having periodontal disease is highly inflammatory. So you need to work on all those things. So what I like to do is I like to coach people on weight control as well as their home care, and making sure that they have 3-month cleanings. Because if they're having 3-month cleanings, they're doing everything that they can for their perio. If they have great home care, they can change their world. And if they can just lower their body mass index, and I put them on a great diet, that can lower their body mass index, it's just a phenomenal change in their whole life. And I love what I'm doing because of that. You know, you can see it in everybody, and their family. Their family sees it in their patients.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
so it's
Are there any last things that you'd like to say, Piero, before we close?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about glucagon.
Okay.
Because a lot of diabetics, they don't know what glucagon is. And glucagon is very important. It's made by your pancreas as well. The beta cells in your pancreas, as you start to age, they start to put out more and more and more insulin in order to get the sugar that we're eating all the time, these carbohydrates, and we're taking in too many calories, and what happens is these calories got to go somewhere. So if we're sedentary, or we're not running as we're eating this carbohydrate, the body is pumping in this insulin. And when it's pumping in this insulin, what happens is your body can only use so much only so much energy, and then it starts to get stored, because that's what the function of insulin is to either store it or put it inside your muscle cells. Well, the other side of the coin that most people don't realize is that glucagon takes it out of your fat tissue, brings it into your liver for glycolysis, and then puts that energy back into the system. But you will not get glucagon released in the presence of insulin. You must have a nice ratio. You always want a little bit of insulin and a little bit of glucagon going on. But as we age, we become insulin resistant, so the pancreas is putting out more and more and more insulin.
Insulin resistant, that's the pre-diabetic.
That's the pre-diabetic. So when we're building up this insulin, every time you have a little meal, you have such a high level that we're constantly losing that ability to make glucagon. The pancreas is an amazing organism. Or an organ. The organ is built probably 10 times better than it needs to be, and yet we have all these diabetics. But why is that? These beta cells work and work and work and work until finally they die, and that's when we get diagnosed as being a diabetic. And as that happens, we lose that ability to produce glucagon in the alpha cells. So if we can stimulate those alpha cells to work on this fat, you lower that body mass index, you lower that inflammation, you work on that periodontal disease, and it all comes together. You change your whole world. It changes everything. It changes everything. You can go from being unhealthy to very healthy, actually. I mean, you can have a whole different change. Without drugs.
Lifestyle changes and the right product. How do we get in touch with you?
Well, I have a website. It's called www.dentalairforce.com.
Okay.
And I'm in. You can purchase this product through dentists. You can purchase this directly, of course.
Okay.
But appreciate you asking, and it's a wonderful tool. I speak and I coach groups of people, and so I look forward to speaking with you again sometime.
Well, we really appreciate you being with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.